Alright, so welcome to Lobster Claws Recovery. This is Brittany. We are down here on one of the beaches in Fort Lauderdale. And I had thought about whether or not I was going to be skin diving in the water this morning. I looked at the webcams and wow, it's gotten rougher since. I looked at the webcams and I was like, wow, the onshore flow is way too fast. And, you know, the winds are coming out of the east-southeast, something like that. And, you know, if you're skin diving, you won't be able to stay anywhere more than a few seconds. See? So also this morning, there's the Port Everglades. You have cargo ship traffic coming out. We have the DJI Osmo Action 4, and I have the underwater case on it. We're gonna have take a different tact on metal detecting in the water. As much as these cameras claim they're waterproof, I would probably beg to differ. And I think having that extra case on there is probably a pretty good idea. So as you guys may be able to see, the fluorescent pink areas that are roped off, those are turtle nests. So we're using the escapade. I got the cordless headphones. Looks like somebody's head in the water, doesn't it? It's a coconut. With some people, it really doesn't matter whether there was a coconut or a head. There's about the same level of intelligence. Yeah. I guess we're going to be operating in diving mode, because it's going to be too noisy otherwise. Diving mode. Let's see how this goes. This is going to be interesting. I think there's some sandbars farther down. I'm going to go look for that. Go in until I'm ready to walk out a bit. The water is definitely warm. It's a nice summer day. Pretty good. So we're gonna step out a bit. Metal detector is working pretty good. The metal detector is working pretty good. I think I ran over my words. Definitely shallower through here. Got the big coil on. Is that a good thing? You know, I'd have a 4-foot diameter coil to cover more ground, but the offset is when they're bigger, they can be less sensitive. This one's pretty good, I have to say. Definitely shallow. Maybe a foot. Let's head out a bit. People will ask you where you find treasure. Now this is an interesting question. Where do you find treasure? Well, anywhere people are is the answer. And you can step to the left and step to the right. 1 second, there's nothing. And then you move to the right. And you got something. So, maybe a year ago, I was in the water. I was metal detecting for a bit, not too long, maybe an hour. Getting tired, so I thought I'm gonna walk the shore a bit, right? I get out of the water, and within 10 feet, I had myself a section, not the whole thing, a section of an 18 karat gold, Italian gold, Italian because you could read, well, that was my opinion, we'll say that. 18 karat gold, and it was stamped 18 karat. So I got the clasp, and I got one of the sections beyond the clasp. Pretty heavy. And I just found that by chance. If I had the 9-inch coil that day, and it wasn't down that far, maybe 6 inches. But, you know, I happened to get out of the water at the right time. I happen to walk north instead of south. You don't know. How the hell do you know? I saw these waves on the webcams, and I look on the webcams. Admittedly, I was so excited to go this morning that I forgot to initially look, right? So I was like, Jesus, like right before I left the house, like, forget anything? So I go and I look, sure enough, I don't like what I see. The wave periods are at 4 seconds, which means it's wave 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Wave 1, 2, 3, 4, wave, right? 4 second periods, moving pretty, you know, high frequency. And I'm like, I'm gonna skin dive in this. I ain't skin diving in this. It's gonna be a lesson in failure. Now that I'm here, Would I do it? I don't know. You know, as opposed to the webcams, I think the webcams are pretty helpful. I would suggest you look at a few of them because the camera angle relative to the beach, if you look at 2 or 3 different vectors to the beach, it's going to give you a much better picture of like what's going on. I wouldn't want to be skin diving in this. And I would be at the beach skin diving right now, and it would be getting rougher and rougher. Wasn't this rough this morning? So right now it is about 1 hour into past what was supposed to be low tide. Oh yeah, no way. Look at this. It'll knock you on your, they'll flip you right over like a turtle. It's really quite something. Oh yeah. It's quite something when you have it in your head that you want to do something, but the weather is not cooperating, and you're like, oh, I'm just gonna ignore it. No. Sometimes it's better to either find something else to do or just sit on the couch, because that's why, because so let's have a chat about the Blue 3 air compressor. You cannot run that compressor in these kind of conditions. The more I see, the more I realize, and I'm just being honest, I don't give a shit about the money. It doesn't matter. Because ultimately, money can be replaced, but time cannot. God will not give you a second chance to this life. There's no reruns in somebody's life. Time spent is time gone. So what's the point? Well, you can't run this in the Blue 3 in these kind of conditions. Now we're going to put aside whether or not you should be diving alone or not diving alone, or that's not this conversation. And we know what best practices are. We're not going to have that chat. But the Blue 3, at first glance, it seems like it's easy to get to the beach. It's easy to haul there. And it's not bad, but that unit is not unto itself. It's just one component in a kit, KIT, right? Kilo India Tango kit. What does that mean? Well, you have weight belt. My weight belt for my big fat ass is like 15 pounds. if I lose weight like I want to, maybe it'll drop to 12 to 14 pounds. So now you gotta hump that to the beach. And you got your mask and your snorkel. And you can put that on your head. Yeah, okay, fine. Alright, sit there and bitch and moan. But let's just say that's the end of the list right there. What are you gonna do? You're gonna walk to the beach with 12 to 15 pounds of weight around your waist. I'm telling you, it's way harder than it sounds. And if your knees are so-so, and you're doing that with that weight, you're asking for trouble. Now you got to the beach, you have your air compressor. Now what are you going to do with the bag? Your carry case. What are you going to do with that? You're going to leave it on the beach? Or move it in a little bit? Why? Why not? Remember what I said about stepping out of the water, taking a left, a right, heading north and running into gold? Treasure's where you find it. Don't anybody tell you step here, step there. Yeah, if you want to run tests, there are ways to run tests as to where you might want to be, and we're going to talk about that in a minute to make this video a whole lot more interesting. But in the meantime, where does the case for the Blue 3 sit? On the beach? With all these maniacs that might steal it? Will they steal it? I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. People are not to be trusted, but I mean, you can wing it. If you lose your bet and they do steal it, you got nothing for recourse. And $50 later, assuming you don't have any spare parts or anything in there that you also lost, you know, you're out of case. It's a lot of agita. I witnessed a bunch of people who are probably part of a dive club, and they were out for the morning, and they all had their 80 cubic foot tanks, and they walked that back to the car with those tanks on their back. And I'll tell you this. So there was an opportunity that I had to take some equipment down to another location where I work, right? And altogether, this equipment weighed nearly 50 pounds in the backpack. And I got it down there. Now, 50 pounds as opposed to a tank. The tank is about, I would get a steel tank. I don't like aluminum tanks. Aluminum tanks are less reliable. There's a whole bunch of reasons. You can run steel tanks to higher pressures. You can run them to 4,000 psi. And I forget what the bar rating on that is, but you guys can do the conversion. The 4,000 psi is substantial. Anyway, an 80 cubic foot in steel with a regulator is probably within that weight parameter. And I don't know, you know, it is what it is. But the upshot is, you're taking all that shit in the water with you, ain't nothing for somebody to steal. The wonderful people that we have in this country these days, and I'm being sarcastic, they don't help it. I'm not saying they're the cause, I'm just saying they don't help. Often is the case, it's somebody who lives here and a lot of opportunists. So, what am I saying? I'm saying that I'm getting motivated right now to just go get certified, spend a shitload of money, and do it. I have been certified before when I was a kid. That's like many moons ago. There's nothing. Sand is completely no tones. Nothing, in case you're wondering. That I'm not tethered to the air compressor. Now, is being tethered to an air compressor a bad thing? I think when the surface conditions are rough, it can be a problem. But if you're in the water, either with dive equipment or surface compressor equipment, and it's shallow, it won't matter what kind of equipment you have, you're going to get tossed around like a beach ball bobby in the waves. Nothing, zero, no tones. I would tell you this: if you have a thought and logic works to support that thought, and of course if you have the money, because you can't do it without the cash, you should do it, because God's not giving you a second chance. You're not going to be 30 again. You're not going to be 40 again. You're not going to be 50 again. That will come and go, and it will always be behind you. That time in your life. Am I a dummy? Well, I'm not saying I'm going to toss it. I haven't said yet that I'm going to sell it, although this is probably where this is going. Oh, I think we have a target. I'll play it out. I'm going to come to a conclusion by the end of the year. And I'll do whatever I need to do. Sell it. I think it's aluminum. It's ringing around 33. I'm not going to dig it. You guys want to see some fish? I don't know, did you see him or not? Probably not going to take that off again. It's too hard to put the camera back on. The upshot of having the underwater case is I feel confident that I can do that. Go home, take the case off, and the camera's going to be intact. I will never run one of these cameras in the water again without the underwater case. I don't give a shit what they tell you. Oh, it's good for 10 meters. Yeah, okay. I had my DJI. It lasted a while. I definitely had salt intrusion into that thing. It eventually fried the motherboard inside. It's a tiny little motherboard, circuit board. So you guys do what you want, but I would buy the case. Now DJI allows you to have moments of stupidity. If you buy the extended warranty or the protection plan or whatever, you can do that. But I'll remind you that if you're using the camera when you're on vacation, unless you have a spare camera, which in a perfect world you do, Because remember, there's an old adage that says, one is none and two is one. One is none and two is one. Well, what does that mean? Well, if you're relying on something and you only have one of them, and something happens to that thing, now you have none. You have no fallback, no backup. So, anything of criticality, I would be having two. I have a two of a lot of things. If it's important, I suggest you have two. Especially if one breaks or it decides to go walk about and disappear. I don't know what that is. Let's get it out of the water. One of the nasty humans dropped it. So I'll decide on the metal detector by the, metal detector is another thing. On the air compressor by the end of the year. I have a neighbor who dives, although there's another thing you don't want to rely on. People who don't dive with regularity are not potential dive buddies. They're just not, and I would not count on them for anything. If you happen to run into them and they say, we're going diving, do you want to come along? Yeah, sure. Thinking about just walking along the beach, but kind of boring. I'm kind of sick of it. Honestly, I'd rather struggle in the water. If you're gonna dive, you're talking about a lot of money. These days to get certified alone, it's like $600, $800 or more. There's that. Now I have all my gear except a regulator and a tank. I own everything. I have wetsuits. I have a shitload of lead weight. Lead weight's very expensive. I have a dive mask. I'm getting ready to buy another one because the one I have does a poor job of supporting a camera, a GoPro camera mount. And we can talk about that. I'm actually looking into that. If I do get certified, I'm going to get a full face mask. There are some that are really expensive, the full face masks. They do have built-in camera mounts. They also have a mount where you can actually plug your regulator into that. And so the whole way you've got taught maybe to use a regulator will change. It's pretty cool. You're going to have to do your own research. You're going to find out. I don't want to explain it to you because I know I'm going to leave something out. I'm seeing 30s, but I'm not interested in digging aluminum. Well, thanks for visiting the Lobster Claws Recovery. It has been uneventful. It is certainly an interesting video, but it has not been treasure-wise productive. We will be talking more about diving with scuba gear, treasure hunting with scuba gear. All right. Thanks for visiting. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.